Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I have for you the boat series. It's a little behind and took me a little bit to get everything going, but this is essentially what we'll be building. Now I don't have all the details the same, and the sails are a little bit bigger on the newer one, and in fact you could probably have two sails for the size of this boat. But depending on how well that one does, I do have an idea for maybe doing this boat as well in the future. It uses the same exact hull, but has a bit of a different cabin approach as well as the front. And, well, depending on how well that does, I have another idea, just a little bit of inspirational building for you guys, and that is right over here, inspired by Sea of Thieves. I went ahead and built the skeleton ship, or kind of skeleton ship. It's not nearly the same at all, but just shows you what you can do with that one basic hull that you'll be learning from this video. So, with that said, let us begin. I almost forgot, this is an addition here. What I need to brush on is the height of the boat based on survival building. So the boat is 11 tall, so just to give you an idea, this boat is 11 tall in general. So from the 11th block, you're going to want to go down a total of 5. So it's about 6 blocks will be underwater and 5 blocks will be above water. So starting from the very middle of the boat, we're going to build a beam 20 long, and then starting at the very front here, or pick a side for the front, you're going to go out and over 1 3 times, then 2 times, and then 2 singles, and then up 2 again, and then up 2 more times. Now we're going to go to the back of the boat, and we're going to go up and over 2, then another 2, then we're going to go to a 1, and then up 2, up 1, and then up and over 4. So now, at the very top, it should be a total of 38 wide, and if you did it correctly, both of the sides should be the same length. And now we're going to transition into the top side of the boat, and we're going to start on the back, and we're going to build out a total of 3. Then we're going to go over 1, and then over 3, and just keep going along this sort of pattern to an 8, and then to a 9. Now we're going to start going in by 1, and we're going to go over 6, and then 2 sets of 3, then a 2, then a 1, and then at the very front will be 3 wide. And they're just going to mirror that to the other side. So we're going to go to the front of the boat with our stripped oak logs, and starting here at the very front, we're going to come down a total of 2, and then we're going to keep going down, just following the outline of the boat till about this point, and it's going to change a little bit right here. We're going to go into like that, and then this one will be a little bit different as well. We're going to go into again, but with that thickness of 1 there. Now we're just going to continue along the beam of the boat till right about here. And then this is where we go out by a total of 1. And now we're just going to follow all the way back about here. Then we're going to go up 1, and then into, up 1 again, into, and then go up 2 here. And a total of going up 1. And then now we're just going to flesh it off. And then you should notice that your logs should be a total of 1 inside. So you should have a bit of an overhang right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and mirror that to the other side. Alright, so now kind of for the tricky part, where a lot of the rest of this boat we won't be able to do aerial views, but that being said, we're going to go to the front of the boat here, and where the logs do this weird overlap, we're just going to go out 1 and up 2, and then we're going to go out 1 again and up 3. So you should see that the log should be 1 behind the top post, and that's how they should be for all of it. And now we're going to go over 2 spaces, so 1, 2, and then we're going to come out 1, go up 2, out 1 again, going up 2, out 1 more time, and we're just going to carry that all the way up to a 3. So you can kind of see a pattern developing here, that we're just keeping them all the same. So for the next one, we're going to go over another 2 spaces. We're going to have this one resting on the log. Then we're going to go up 2, then up 2 again, and then lastly 3 one more time. So we're just going to copy that to this one, going over 2 spaces. Now you might have a gotcha moment and think you can do this part by yourself. Well, you're about to be proven wrong. So right here, we're going to go over a total of 3 times, and we're going to come out 1, then we're going to go up 1 again, and then we're going to go up 2, and then we're going to go up 4. Now, the reason why these ones are different is we're adding thickness to the middle of the boat. But, that being said, we're going to go over another 3 times, go up 1, and then we're just going to copy that most recent post. So now that we've gotten those out of the way, we're going to count over another 3 times, and we're going to go back to the first 2 that we've already done, putting 1 on top of the long log, then going up 2, 2 more, and then back to 3. And we got 2 more left, so we're going to go over 2 spaces here, right on this overhanging lip one. We're going to come out 1 and go up 2, then 2, and 3 again. And then just 1 more post. We're going to go up the L shape here, and we're going to come out 1, and then go up 3. Alright, so now we can go ahead and mirror that to the other side. And just very quickly here, we're going to go onto the underside of the boat, and where the beams are reaching up, or the ribcage ends here, we're just going to create an outline following along the underside of the overhang we got here. This will give us more room to work with in the future for different details and whatnot. So now we're going to move on to a less fun part, that being the hull here. And we're going to use our oak planks and our oak stairs, but mostly oak planks. So I'm going to go to the front of the boat, and along the logs here, we're going to take our planks and just kind of match up the best we can. Now this is the only part of the boat that will be a little different, because I want the front to be narrower than the rest of the boat. So I'm just going to use some stairs here just to smooth it a bit as best I can and call it a day. As again, most people will not be looking at the boat underneath, so don't make it too perfect. The only places that you want to be somewhat perfect are from here and up. But with that out of the way, let's continue along. I'll show you a few of these, and a lot of it's just going to be pretty much placing and breaking till you get the look you desire. And as you can see, all I'm doing is following along with the logs. And we're going to do that just about everywhere that it's applicable. I'm going to show you one tricky place because there is a spot where it doesn't work, and that is where these posts don't line up. So I'm going to bring them out by a total of 2 in all these places here. Then I'm going to follow along on the single set here, but then you'll notice there's a pocket. I'm just going to throw some oak planks in there and call it a day. We can, in the future, just kind of shape it a bit with some oak staircases later on. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of this boat. Now the hull of the boat wouldn't be complete without the little pointy bit at the front, so to do that, I'm going to come to the front of the boat here, place a staircase right there, and I'm going to use oak logs. This will just break up the stripped oak texture, and we're going to come out a total of 6 times. Then we're going to go up 1, and then we're going to start going over again a total of 4 times right there. And now I'm just going to use some oak staircases to connect up the logs to make it look a little more firm and held in place. And then I'm going to use some oak slabs over the top and the underside as well. And while we're right here, we can detail by adding some staircases along the front of the ship if you so desire. So before we segue into the top deck here and the flooring, I do need to mention that I did not have an interior of the ship planned, sadly. As I did in the older video, but just we're a little strapped for time when it comes to these mechanical builds that I'd rather leave that to your imagination and what you can do with it. That seems a little lazy, but that's just what I had planned for this. So with that said, we're going to make the line for the cabin. So for the 8 long log here, we're going to go over a total of 4, and then from that 4th one we're just going to cut across. And now we can go ahead and start filling in the floor. And now for a simple part, a floor of your choice. I'm going to use birch, as the birch kind of works best with the colors presented. It's going to fill in the top part of the boat. So now we need the cabin, and the cabin is quite simple. So where the log comes across, here at the edge, we're going to go out or up a total of 4, and then an adjacent one, a total of 4 as well. Then here, going towards the back of the boat, we're going to come over 3. We're just going to mirror what we have in place here. They're going to have another log going straight up, and then we're going to go back 2. Then here in the corners, we're going to go up a solid number. And then when we get to this point, we don't want the middle part. We want that post there, come over 2, and then again skip a spot, go up 4, go over 2. This way we can now have a window here in the center, and then again just mirror that to the other side. Now to continue along with the cabin, we want a middle door entryway here. So we're going to have 2 sets of logs going out like this, then we're going to go straight up, and then again 2 on this side, and then what we're going to do here is create the staircase. So I'm going to come out a total of 4, then a total of 3, 2, and then 1. And again right here, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And here at the top I can have the logs pointing out. Now I'm going to delete these little placeholders. And then from here, we're going to have the logs go up like this, just following along 1 lower. And then I'm going to do the same thing for here. Once your staircases are done, we're going to go here to the center, and we're going to go up a total of 3 times like that, and then cross the very top beam. Now, you can place whatever you want here. I'm going to place a staircase upside down, and I would put a door right there, dead center. Now, I'm just going to fill in this top floor with some birchwood. Now, the reason why I didn't fill these in is now we have a little bit of a cubby space we could work with here and put some chests and whatnot as like a little storage spot, since we don't have a bottom of the deck. Or what you could utilize these as is a way down further into the boat. Now, just to finish up the cabin a bit, I'm going to use some calcite, and we're going to build in 1 layer deep all the way around the boat. And then we may as well detail it just to save ourselves some time. And I'm going to use some oak stairs here and oak stairs there. And then now I'm going to use my oak fences going straight up here, just keeping this very simple. And then as well, we can do the same thing right here with some oak staircases as well. And then just kind of copy this onto the other side. So before we begin detailing, we're going to go ahead and move to probably the second most difficult part of the build, that being the mast, and the sails, I should say, not the mast. Mast's pretty simple. So for the sail, this boat is big enough to have multiple variants of sails, but to keep the tutorial simple, I'm just going to do 1. And what the 1 will be, it's either going to be one of these 3 blocks. So from this corner down, it's going to really depend upon where you want it. So I'm going to choose, probably right here is fine in the middle. And then from this point, we're going to build up a total of 34 times. So once your post is a total of 34 tall, we're going to start from here at the top, and we're going to build down from here 6 more times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then from this point, actually we're going to go down 1 more, so a total of 7. And now we're going to start creating the mast, the part that holds the sails up. Delete those as we don't need them. So your first beam is going to be a total of 5, and we're going to add some shape to this. So we're going to go up 1, over 1, and then over 3. And then again, we're going to do that 1 more time, up 1, over 1, down 3. So on this side, we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to come over, then go down instead, and then go over 3. And then of course, 1 more time just to mirror it. So once you've built the post and the mast, now we're going to go ahead and detail it a little bit here before we move on to the sails. So I'm going to use grindstones here, and there, and then of course just to mirror it. So we should have a total of 4 grindstones, and then connected to those grindstones, I'm going to use a chain. And we may as well continue just to detail this while we're right here. We're going to use some staircases there, and then 1 on top. And then along the tops of the posts, we're going to place the oak slabs, and then have the posts come out a little bit right there. Then again, just on the underside now, we're going to use the same thing with the slabs going all the way across. And then of course the staircase here on the side, and then keep going on the top now. And then one last little bit, we're going to use the oak fences here on the front and the backs of the corners. So now for the sail. The sail you can pretty much make a tutorial out of in its own right. But I'm going to give you guys a very simple kind of canvas to work with. And to do that, we're going to start here at the chain, and we're going to follow along the post here. Then we're going to come out 1, go over 1, and then go up 1. Now the idea is we want it to be 2 lower than the logs. And we're going to go again, just follow along, and we're going to keep going up, just following the post above it. So you should have a shape like that with your wool when you're done. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come out one from that first bit of wool, go down 2, go out 1 again, go down 2, go out 1 more time, go down 4, and then 2, 2, and 1. So your wool here should be a total of 14 long, and we're going to follow this pattern. So I'm going to do it for this one, then I'll show you one more time. And then once you have completed that part, you'll see that the overlap is a little bit different. So don't be concerned if you see holes in the sails here, as that is intentional. We will be filling those in afterwards. And the reason why I wanted to show you one more time is we'll have this bit of overlap to work with the canvas, so don't be concerned with that either. So once you have the sails looking like this, we're going to go and flesh out this sort of flowing look. Now there's a few tricks to this, but we're going to start off with the basic one. So first of all, we're just going to fill in these squares here with some wool, just to kind of get rid of that gap. And now we have a pretty easy canvas to work with to make it look like it's flowing. So to make it look like it's flowing, it's all going to be about breaking and placing blocks until you achieve the look you want. So how do you make this look like the wind's blowing into it? Ideally, you don't want this to be so square. So I'm just going to be breaking away some corners here and going along with the canvas as much as I can to just get a shape that looks better than, you know, what we had for the basics. Now the basic one actually is not bad, but this will really cut down these sharp edges that just don't look natural. It doesn't look like the wind is cutting into it properly. Now again, these sails aren't very big, so you won't have a ton of room to make it look beautiful, but you'd have a decent amount of room to really change it up and give it a decent amount of shape. Then once you get a look that you are happy with, there is a little bit of a trick now that we can take into account that will give it a little more realism, and that is using the fences here. And what we're going to do is add like a rope system here to kind of pull on the sails. So to do that, I'm going to take this log here and I'm going to put a grindstone, and then now I'm going to go to this point and I'm just going to take some wool and I'm going to kind of create a corner here, and this corner will act as the point of where the tautness of the rope will be tugging on it. So as you can see, we're starting to add that little bit, which does change the shape. And then from there, we can add our ropes however you may want to add them. It's up to you. They don't have to be picture perfect. And I'm just going to bring them up, and then ideally what I want from these ropes is to attach right about in this spot here, and I'm just going to have them ride up the sails like that. And then of course I'm going to do that same thing on the other side, giving that little bit of tug sort of feeling, or look I should say. Then we can go ahead and decorate the sails a bit. So for the simplicity of this one, I just added some nice green stripes going along the length of the sail, and you can add a little variation to how far over you want these sails to go, or the green texture. It doesn't have to be a solid, as sometimes those little outlying bits make a difference. And then intermingled in with the green wool, I used a bunch of moss blocks just to break up the wool looking texture. Then of course I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So now we're going to do the final touch-ups. I wanted to save the details more for the end, as most people will probably be skipping these, but you know, it's not a build unless we, you know, finish it 100%. So I'm going to start with the most simplest thing. I'm going to use some staircases going all the way up, and then now I'm going to use some fences following down the staircases, and I'll do that over here as well. And then a lot of this build is going to be using fence posts in certain areas, just like that, to kind of doctor it up. We don't want to add too much to take away from the space, but then you do want to add some stuff to break up, you know, the solid wood textures here and there. So like over here, I'm placing a staircase, then following it with a fence. Then we could go here on the top side of the deck, I'm going to use some oak stairs facing inward like that. Then on top of those, I'll use some oak slabs. And then to kind of give more of a railing or a sort of brace, I'm just going to place some oak logs intermittently in certain areas on the top deck, and then putting some more slabs here around the sides. And then if you so desire, you can place some staircases in certain spots that link up to the logs better. And then on top of those logs, you can place some slabs as well. And then if you wanted to add more details and textures up here, go for it. Something else we can do while we're up here is utilize some different textures in the deck itself by breaking up the solid birch look, and that is adding in some smooth sandstone like this, and I'll probably do that intermittently throughout the build. But before I do that, I'm going to go down here on the bottom side. I'm going to use some oak staircases here on the underside. We're just going to go around the boat and placing these in certain areas just to support the overhang that the boat has. Then once you have all your stairs placed, we can place even some fences to give a little more something to look at the boat. Because this side, this will be showing, this will be out of the water from there and up. And then we'll just keep going around and making circles and passes on what we think should be showing on the hull of the ship. And then, like the top side of the deck, we're going to want to use some kind of temporary railings. So I'm going to go around the boat, placing these oak slabs. And then at different spots or intervals of the boat, I'm just going to place some right side up oak logs. Again, now we're just adding depth to the top deck a bit. That way it doesn't look so plain and flat. And then periodically we can add some staircases feeding into the logs like this. And just going to go around and do that myself. And then one last little touch up, I'm going to add some slabs on top of those right side up logs. And then we can go ahead and break certain slabs just to take away that solid look. And if you really feel so inclined, you can even add some fence posts in certain areas around the boat as well. And then one more little thing we can do is kind of brace the mast here by just putting staircases. And if you were to do a crow's nest, you would want to have room and bring a ladder here all the way to the top. But if you do include a crow's nest, you're going to extend the reach of the post a bit so it's not too low. And then I would just add some staircases here at the top, and then we can go ahead and add some oak slabs as well. And then you're probably going to want to set these too thick, because then what we can utilize here are trapdoors. Unfortunately, it'll be a little bit square. I had an idea for the crow's nest, but for some reason I'm forgetting how to build it off the top of my head, as this is more of just an addition at this point. There is one last thing we can do that I did start but I didn't finish, and that is adding in the staircases here on the bottom if you need to see that. So all I'm going to do here is just go around the boat and place staircases at intermittent spots to make the boat kind of smoothly transition into the water here, as it would look a little square if you didn't do that. But again, this is really not going to be too visible. The only spots that you really should worry about are above the water line, which would be right from here. And there we have it. We are done. Now, this boat is a little late, and the series is a little behind, as I was not feeling so great, but here we are, and you may notice this boat looks a little different than the one we just did, because I completely remade the video as I was not happy with the first result. But with that said, depending on how well these do, we can continue this series, and I do have other ideas in mind. But, as always, until next time, see you later.